Hey there, and welcome back to the Boardgame Sherpa, where we take the fear out of learning new games and put the fun back in. Last year I made a video called 25 Essential Tips for First Time Attendees at GenCon, and you guys really seem to like it. I've gotten so much feedback on that video telling me how helpful it was to you. And while views and subscribers are great, knowing that these videos are actually helping people, that's the real reward there for me. So if you haven't seen that one, go watch it. After you watch this one, of course. It doesn't matter the order you watch it in. The tips in there are great for every year at GenCon, but every year, GenCon brings more experience and knowledge, so this will be all the stuff I learned since making that video. Also, I'll be including some tips that folks like you have told me I missed. I made a few videos after last year's GenCon, the top 10 best things about GenCon, the top 10 worst things about GenCon, as well as a walkthrough of last year's exhibition hall, so you can really get the feel of what a typical GenCon feels like without many surprises. I'll put those links in the description. But since you're here already, let's get right to business with 20 even more essential tips to maximize your GenCon and Indianapolis experience. I would just like to mention that nobody has sponsored me for any of these tips. If it's on here, it's because I truly feel that it will make your GenCon experience better. Number 1, still hope for hotels. The first one is hot in the GenCon community, and it's for people stressing that they didn't book their hotels yet. Check the GenConHotels.com site for hotel availability. It's updated pretty regularly. I think it's daily. People do actually cancel their booked rooms often. Whether they reserve multiple hotel rooms and finally pick the best one, or they cancel them as their GenCon plans change, or they found a friend in Indianapolis where they could sleep on their couch. I wouldn't expect too many popping up in the immediate convention center area, but they do pop up. So you may try calling the hotels directly. Sometimes they have rooms that aren't listed on their website, especially the smaller ones. Just remember to stay away from that Motel 6 by the Indianapolis airport. I hate to keep picking on that one, but my friend felt so unsafe there 2 years ago that he left in the middle of the night and chose to sleep in his car way off the property. Read the Yelp and Google reviews if you don't believe me. Number 2, parking update. Last year I talked about how great Gate 10 parking was, but I screwed up and waited too long to reserve my spot and didn't get one. I didn't make the same mistake this year and booked it as soon as they became available. I think they're all sold out at the moment, but all is not lost if you didn't reserve it yet. One of my viewers who found me last year at GenCon told me about an app called ParkWiz that really helped them find a cheap garage spot relatively close to the convention center. I haven't used it myself, but I do see a lot of praise of it online. Number 3, will call apology. Not so much a tip, but an apology to folks from Canada and other non-US countries. I didn't realize badges couldn't be shipped outside the US and you were forced to do will call. I didn't mean to scare you off. I will say that if you're in town early, pick up your badges before Wednesday at 4 p.m. I've seen a lot of posts from locals saying the will call lines weren't bad early in the day. Number 4, Indy 500 fun. Last year at GenCon, No Facebook Eric and I went to the Indy 500 Museum and it was great, and it was going to be my number 1 tip for this year. But it's closed until April 2025 for a huge renovation. The track is still open, so you can still take a tour around the track and get photo ops with the finish line. But if you really want to do an Indy 500 base tour, reach out to the Zolera Indy Car Factory at indycarfactory.com. Mrs. Boardgame Sherpa, Johnny Rocks, and I did the Zolera factory tour years ago, not realizing there was a huge official Indy museum not that far away. But that Zolera tour began a love of Indy car racing that we still have to this day. Number 5, Indy 500 area restaurants. Speaking of the Indianapolis Speedway area, there are some great restaurants over there that have great food and aren't nearly as crowded or expensive as the downtown area. I do have a couple of favorites, but my tastes are going to be way different than yours. So just do the Yelp Google review thing and you'll find something. Number 6, Indianapolis cool stuff. There's some really cool stuff in Indianapolis. In addition to the Indy 500 stuff, there's a state museum, a zoo, and a whole bunch more. If you don't want a board game for 4 days straight, and yes, I know that's blasphemy, but not everyone has your stamina, go check out the city. It's a really beautiful place to visit. Number 7, hottest new game. If you want to know what the hottest new games at GenCon are, watch my top 10 15 games of GenCon 2024 video, and subscribe and keep checking back when I post the next update of new games. Okay, that was a little bit self-serving, but the games listed were picked based on the popularity of Board Game Geek, or you can go to Board Game Geek and look them up yourself. But watch my videos, it's better for me. Number 8, best day for deals. If you want the best deals at GenCon for non-super hot games or other stuff, go shopping on Sunday when the vendors and publishers are trying to get rid of everything so they don't have to bring back all their unsold stuff. Also, check out the game consignment area and you might just get lucky and pick up whatever game you're looking for. Just remember, by Sunday, a lot of hot items will be long sold out. Number 9, games library. Also, try and book a slot at the games library ahead of time. Last year, No Facebook Eric and I found out about the library when we took a walk over to the Lucas Oil Stadium to see what was there. But by the time we got there, all the tickets were long sold out. I already booked our tickets this year, and I can't wait to try it out. Number 10, Lucas Oil Stadium. Speaking of the Lucas Oil Stadium site, you should go check it out. It's huge, it's air conditioned, it has a sliding roof, it's right near the food truck area, so you can bring in food and eat it while sitting comfortably in stadium seating, and you can walk on a patch of grass, I think it's the 50-yard line, of the home stadium for the Indianapolis Colts. Number 11, Food Truck Block Party. Speaking of the food truck area, No Facebook Eric wanted me to tell you it's not all about me and that the food trucks are awesome. I have weird dietary restrictions, so I normally just grab a bland sandwich at the convention center. But for people who can eat anything they want, they have a wonderful selection at the food trucks. And they serve alcohol, and are near the pinball machine area. You can thank No Facebook Eric for that tip. Number 12, Event Catalog Wish List. It's a little late this year to do anything about it, but definitely keep this in mind for next year. YouTuber Grep Beer wanted me to tell you that you'll have a much better planned time if you create a wish list for GenCon events done before the event registration opens. Things sell out quickly. I found that out when I submitted my wish list on opening day of event registration and seeing events I wanted to go to sell out in front of my eyes. Number 13, GenCon merch. Another thing I mentioned in my Bad Things of GenCon 2023 video that I fixed this year, that if you want GenCon merchandise like shirts, go to their online store and order it before the show, like I did with this 2024 GenCon shirt. Last year I didn't want to wait in the huge merch lines, and by the time they slowed down, everything was sold out. And I bought a shirt that I wasn't thrilled with, just to have a souvenir shirt. Number 14, Managing Expectations. On a related note, I'm not really into Disney Lorcana, but last year, a lot of people were really surprised how popular that game was. The disappointment on so many people's faces when they didn't get the game was bad. I don't know if it'll be like that again this year, or if it'll be a different hot game that becomes huge. But my biggest tip is not to put all your GenCon hopes in one game basket. Yes, it sucks when lines are long and games or shirts sell out, but if you keep your expectations low, it won't ruin your whole trip. Number 15, Frog Brothers Customer Service. I know this is going to sound like an ad for Flying Frog Productions, and I guess it is, but they aren't paying for it, nor do they even know I'm doing this. Last year, one of the absolute best moments I had was when I was talking to the guys at Flying Frog to help me find something for my own personal board game Sherpa, Johnny Rocks, who couldn't make it to GenCon last year. The Frog Brothers really went above and beyond for me. If you're interested, I made a 3-part series about what happened called Overcoming Shadows of Brimstone. They're also in my top 10 best things of GenCon 2023 video. Go check them out. They're some of the nicest people ever. Number 16, Indianapolis Game Shops. According to a YouTuber named Allison Campbell 1631, she says that a board game shop called Elf and Moon is having a 24 game-a-thon on the Monday before GenCon. It's really close to this convention center. I won't be able to take advantage of it since I'm driving on a Wednesday, but if you're around, it really does seem like a fun time. Which brings me to, it seems Indianapolis has a lot more board game stores than your average city. If you're not too board gamed out already, you may want to visit a few of them and see if they have the older games that GenCon doesn't have or is charging too much for. You might get some great deals and you get to support local game stores, which are so important to the hobby. I know in New Jersey, we lost a few great ones in the last couple of years and the remaining ones are fighting to stay alive. Number 17, credit card tip. Allison Campbell 1631 has yet another tip. Call your bank and credit card company ahead of time if you plan to use your credit card for GenCon purchases. The vendors are from all over, and the attraction may get flagged as fraud if you use your card for vendors in different states or countries minutes after previous transactions from somewhere else. Number 18, important reminders. I know I mentioned this in last year's video, but this is important enough to remind you again with. Bring snacks and water, charge your phone, and bring a fully charged charger as a backup. Comfortable shoes are a must. You'll be walking a lot more than you think you will. Cash is king. If you tell a potential vendor you are paying cash, you might just get a better deal. And board games become really heavy as you go through the day, so keep that in mind when you buy everything in the morning. And finally, make a list of what you really want to see and put map locations on it so you can find it quickly. Don't depend on the app. Number 19, find Sherpa, get swag. If you see me at GenCon, come up to me, say hello, let's take a selfie. I love meeting people, and I just may have some Board Game Sherpa swag if you do. And finally, number 20, Lucha Wars tournament. We at the Board Game Sherpa are partnered with Backspindle Games to run a Lucha Wars tournament at GenCon. We applied late, so the event isn't ready on the event calendar yet, but I was told it will be happening. Maybe not on Friday at 4 p.m. as we expected, but I'll post any info here as soon as it shows up on the event catalog. And that's my updated tip list for GenCon 2024. Post in the comments if I missed anything. I hope that this version is as helpful as last year's to you, and please let me know if I helped make your GenCon a little bit easier. If it's helped, please like and subscribe. The feedback from last one has really inspired me to keep making more videos. Hope to see you at GenCon and in the next episode.